finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo, no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Hindmarsh.
And welcome back again, everyone. In this episode today, we are thrilled to have with us Erez Druk, CEO of Freed.ai. That's Freed.ai with us. And he is actually, I would say, driven by his experiences with his own wife's struggle, Gabby, who's in primary care, currently training in her residency. They founded Freed.ai to address the daunting challenge of medical documentation. Oh, yes. To understand the impact of this technology, consider this. Really, the burden of traditional transcribing was really a major reason and decision in my career to finally pull the plug on medicine. It's a huge issue amongst physicians everywhere.
Yeah, and Freed.ai, a cutting-edge AI software, is transforming the way clinicians handle charting, shifting their focus from paperwork back to patient care, which, oh my gosh, everyone wants that, both the doctor and the patient. Today, we're going to explore the ways Freed.ai is reshaping the world of healthcare and hear from Erez about his vision for the future of medical documentation. All right, welcome, Erez.
Hello, thanks for having me and for this opening. It's better than I presented, so thank you.
Well, so as you know, I said, for me, I was starting to get really tired of clinical medicine. I thought maybe I still have a heart for it because we were in big corporate medicine and actually COVID was happening. I shifted and joined one of our previous actual residents that we helped train, who started a small clinic in our local town. And I thought, okay, this is going to be great. It's small, it's private, it's with Sam, who I know, and I'm happy to help out. It's COVID, let's go. I'm on board. And what happened to me was we got going and we used this new software program, and it was such a stumbling block for me that I'm like, I feel like an old dog who can't learn a new trick anymore. I'm intelligent, but for me, the clumsiness and the clunkiness of this software program was just so annoying that I'm like, just give me a piece of paper or have someone else. We didn't have a scribe, but it was the final nail in the coffin for me to just say, you know what, this is just too much. I'm done. Why don't you share with us what you've heard from Gabby, from your wife, what she's struggling with and her, our experiences, or maybe there's no struggle, but what was the inspiration behind this for you?
Yeah, so if I start the beginning, 7 years ago, Gabby and I met, luckily just before med school, so before it became too hard to start a relationship. But we have enough time, to fall in love and stick to it. And then Gabby started med school, and really my life became immersed, for lack of a better word, in the life of clinicians. So not only through Gabby, we live together with clinicians, out of our friends are, and most of my social circle is right now. And I think that was an interesting time because nobody goes into med school burnt out and not liking what they're doing. They go, I think clinicians and doctors are really mission-driven people. They want to go there because they want to help people be healthier. That's very clear. And it was so powerful to see how quickly that notion changes to just lack of happiness and burnout and not liking the system, to not use harsher words. But also how clearly it happens. Not only it's not one instance that I saw Gabby, but really a lot of our friends. I go around on the weekends with clinicians and doctors, and to just talk about the charting, it's like such a burden that is always looming over their heads. And yeah, that's really led me to, at the time I was working on another startup, but over time, you're seeing it, and it's like as a startup person, you always look for big problems, and it was so clear that something here is making many people just miserable and unhappy with what they do. And yeah, that was the seed that kind of led to what we'll be talking about today.
Fascinating. So I guess I'm curious because there are a lot of charting programs out there already, from big ones like Epic to smaller companies, all have promoting different programs. Can you expand on, like, was it specific program they were using? Was it just the notion of a combination of different ones? Like, what made you, I guess, think this is a problem? Obviously, there's products out there, they still don't like them. I can create something different, and yeah, what was the inspiration to do something different than what's already been done?
Yes, I think that so yeah, I think what I observed, maybe I can tell you a story. So not too long ago, maybe a year ago, Gabby and I went to see friends of ours, a couple, and they're also kind of a couple like us. The wife is a doctor and the husband is not. And we go there and we go on a Friday night to spend time with them. And what naturally happens in our lives is that me and the guy kind of start cooking, making dinner, and the wives, they didn't have a choice. They had to chart, write their charts of the day. So they, outside in the sun, it was a nice day, but still Friday evening they're charting. We eat dinner together. They go back to charting, and I think it's, that burden that you have to do the charting, like it's literally over your head all the time. And I don't know if it's definitely the software is a part of it. And I think how I would say it's not clinician focused. EHR systems are really billing systems, and again, they have a lot of value, and I'm not someone who's gonna talk, badly about them, but they are not something that's supposed to make the clinician life better. It's more for the system, for compliance, for billing, and all of those problems. So our approach was just like, let's forget about all of that, and just let's see what the clinician, the doctor needs. What's the experience that actually makes their lives better, that reduces clicks, doesn't add clicks, and make it very, very easy for them. And that was the inspiration. That was literally the founding idea, and that's still what kind of leads us in every decision and what we're building and how we work with our clinician.
There's a novel idea. You actually asked the physician, the clinicians, what they need, what's going to make it work, instead of working around. Right. Most people,
this is crazy because every other industry in the world, the tech goes into, it's like the model notion is like the user is the number one thing. You have to treat them well. I mean, healthcare, it was a new idea. It's crazy, but building for doctors, that was literally a year ago. I wrote this document called Building for Doctors. We do whatever, we prioritize them above everything else. And it's crazy that it's a novel idea, but it is, and that's what made us at least successful so far. So everything we build is based on feedback from our clinicians. We work very closely with them. There are 17 different ways to give feedback in the product. We read all of that and kind of based on that improve. And really our goal is not to make any doctor more efficient, smarter, just like take the load off, do whatever you want with the extra time, but literally just free as many clinicians as we can from this terrible burden.
Hence the beautiful name. It's so apropos, Freed.ai. But so
yes.
I'm excited because it has AI in there. Is this, tell us, like, what makes this different and special? What kind of AI is in there? How does it?
Yeah. I think in contrast to many transcription software that we all have seen and used probably, or many have, we take it a step further. Our goal is to generate the documentation for you. So not a transcription, you don't transcribe into the app. All you need to do is, it's the simplest app in the world. So a patient comes in, you press the start button, that's the only button on the screen. The patient leaves, you press end, and Freed takes all that information, it transcribes it, but then it actually creates essentially the note that you need. So typically a SOAP note with the subjective, objective, exam, all the findings, assessment and plan, patient instructions that you can send to the patient right away, which patients love, by the way, because they know what they need to do in very simple language. And we are not geniuses. The timing with AI allows us to really replace what a human scribe would do in a very affordable, super fast, kind of instant a product that is also very, very simple and doesn't require any training whatsoever. So I think that simplicity, the affordability, and the fact that it produces what you need really created something that resonates, that clinicians truly love, and makes them happier.
So I'm thinking for the non-physician listeners that don't know what a SOAP is.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, but the whole point is that what you're saying is that the doctor, PA, nurse practitioner, the medical personnel comes in the room, hits start, talks to the patient directly, goes about their exam, speaks, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty if they have to be very...
Gets away from the computer, they don't have to type.
But if you have to tailor your language so that it understands, or is it just like a normal, like you just forget that the machine is on, you talk to the patient, you do your thing, do your exam, tell them what they need to do, what the instructions are, the prescriptions, and then you hit end, and then boom, it just generates the clinical note into the chart and also prints the instructions, as you said. That just sounds amazing. Is there specific language that the healthcare provider has to use to trigger this to know properly? For obviously, when you're doing an exam, you have to speak out loud what you're finding, correct?
Right. That's essentially the only requirement. The more you verbalize, like what Freed can't hear, it can't document yet. Maybe in the future it would read your mind, but that's later on. So as long as you verbalize it, and again, the clearer you are, the easier it is for Freed to understand what happened and summarize it. It's very, very powerful. The underlying technology is very powerful. So when I first used it I actually went to shadow a doctor and we were kind of piloting it. And I actually couldn't believe how each patient goes into 17 different places. It's all over the place. And it's really magical. You see it organizes all of that. It cleans out the small talk, really writes it in medical language, organizes it by chief complaint and by problems, and so on. It's quite powerful. So you don't need to do anything special except for say, what needs to be said.
That's amazing because yes.
So then it learns, correct? Because if it's AI, then it's machine learning. So it should get better and learn with, your cadence and how you say things and what I would assume. Is that correct?
Is it individual? Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the main things that we do differently, and we start doing now quite successfully, is essentially personalizing for the doctor. So each doctor has a different style of notes, they need different templates. So what we now introduce is this kind of personalization per doctor. So once you use it, the first time it will get you a nice generic note, the next time it will be based on your edits. It will be closer to your style, and over time your style, and over time it will be, the goal is to create a perfect note. So you just look at it, verify it, but you don't have to change anything. So that's really the goal here, to make it tailor for your specific needs as you use Freed more.
So so far, is it developed for primary care with that in mind, or is it for any specialty? This is outpatient medicine, or is it hospital, or both? Tell us a little bit about how the
this is one of the biggest surprises. So we developed it for primary care. That's where Gabby's at and where my network and friends are. And very quickly we saw uptick actually therapists picking it up, nurse practitioners, and different psychiatrist contexts. Psychiatry, primary care for sure is a big one. And then we have usage and customers pretty much in every specialty. Even veterinarians are using the product, which was surprising. It still says the patient instead of the animal, but so that's pretty funny. Yes, it works quite well in every specialty, with the caveat that it's still not perfect, probably in any of them. For example, we know that in optometry you need very specific templates that we still don't fully support, so we have work to do there, but overall it can kind of handle any situation, at least in a beneficial way that saves time and effort for the clinician.
So how does this integrate with EHRs that exist already? Because I know, having been on hospital boards and worked for a couple different corporate entities, they're pretty protective of their investments, because these are tens of millions. If you're a hospital system, it's tens of millions of dollars to get a EHR. and that's the starting cost, and then you have input costs as well. Like it's unbelievable how expensive these things are, and it's unbelievable how expensive they are to maintain. It ceases to it boggles the imagination, and I think people that are not in medicine don't and haven't actually been in the boardrooms and so forth really understand how big of a leviathan this actually is. I mean, you have teams of people that work for you that only troubleshoot the health record. That's all they do. After you've spent $80 or $90 million for a system,
and every time
that
something
works
goes wrong with it,
for 300
you
doctors,
have to call up the help
like,
team and they come
I mean,
over. Oh yeah,
it's staggering. So, and the systems, and none of them work very well. I mean, I've worked with 4 or 5 different EHRs, and they all kind of suck. They just suck.
I'm in touch with a few networks here in my area that people that are transitioning EHRs currently. It's it's a 3-year project. 100 million, like training and training and training. We have to shut down for a week. It's it's very very intense in both in the cost and other resources.
So if I had Epic, which is the biggest in the country, or take your pick. Athena was probably number 2 or number 3. Can I plug Freed's features into that, or will it work with other EHRs so that it takes away some of my dictation burden, or how does that work?
Do you need to? I don't know that you need anyway.
Right. No, that's a very good question. So our approach from the beginning was, let's make it simple, affordable, and let's complicate as little as possible. So we decided to make it very easy to use Freed with every EHR, which means that you have to copy paste. So we generate the note, you open it next to the EHR, and then you do have to copy paste, and we have features that help with copy pasting more easily. So that's how it works today, and it works well for many clinicians. What we understand is that that's not fully solving the problem. We still have to do work in the EHR, and now we're starting to look for ways to integrate while still maintaining Freed being seamless, affordable, so we don't want to become another EHR. That's not the point here. So that's currently in the works. And there are some innovative ways that we can do that is, again, doesn't become another cumbersome, complicated solution. But today the copy paste works quite well. I would say it solves half the problem for clinicians, which is still a big part of it. And our goal is to make it completely seamless in the coming months and definitely years.
Now, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, are there any, you don't have to name specific companies, but programs where the copy paste is an issue? Because I remember another system we were working on, it might even be the Epic one, where I tried to do that because some things would duplicate in the note and it just refuses to let you, so that you aren't making, just not dictating a fresh new note with copying, pasting, old medical record to new. So is there any barriers with doing that?
Yes, I think EHRs always, unless you find a way to become their best friend, they sometimes, do whatever they do. So we haven't seen that much. I do think with some EHRs it's harder. Like Epic, for example, is very structured, so the code base is still quite cumbersome. And fortunately for us, we are more focused today on the small practice, individual groups where they use simpler EHRs where it works really well. But again, that's why we're looking into making a deeper integration, so to reduce all these clicks. But I would say with the vast majority of EHR that we're encountering in the field, it's working quite well, this process of you get a really good note, you edit it, and then you copy paste. It takes, from what we hear, kind of a minute or 2, but not 20 minutes of charting.
Nice. So tell us a little bit more about it, what it can do, can't do. So for instance, this is creating the note, the SOAP note. Is there any way that I'm not thinking this is not for like ordering labs or referrals, imaging, anything like that. Is there any of that integrated into it? Or this is just, instead of doing like a drag and dictation, the old fashioned way, this is just to collect the information as far as the visit?
Yeah, I would say so. Orders, that is something we want to look into, and that would require the deeper integration. I would say what it saves today for clinicians. One is the freedom in the room. So when you're with a patient, you don't have to worry about writing and remembering. And then when you do go and do the charting, you get what I would say is instead of typing the entire note, you get a very, very advanced draft. Let's say it's 95% what you need, and then you can quickly use that to update the chart and then kind of lock it into the EHR much faster. All the follow-up actions, whether it's orders, referrals, inbox management, all of those are things we definitely plan and starting to look into, but we don't. Unfortunately, we're not solving all the many problems quite yet, but that's the goal.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head, though, from a lot of the visits I would do it almost backwards, because you're right. I didn't want to sit there typing, putting all the note information, physical exam findings, and waste that time with the patient. So it would be, I would leave that part for the most. Obviously, we're talking and I would click in some orders or have our staff enter orders and labs or prescriptions, get that part done. And then it would be, go back later and fill in exactly what Freed will take care of, because then it would be like complete the note, complete my physical exam. The assessment and summary part was the big burden. And I can see how, because, if you're thinking different processes, so this really, it's just like that part just gets done for you. And now you just worry about the other parts. And I can see how in specialties with a lot of thinking, such as psychiatry, counseling, where there's a lot of speech going on, to fill all that in and not have to type.
Well, and it's changed dramatically. It's changed dramatically in primary care, because they're paid based on clicking boxes for metrics. So a patient comes in and they might come in for a single problem, but you counsel them on drug use, on alcohol, on domestic violence, on depression, on hand lotion, like God only knows, right? And all of that stuff has to be documented at least to some degree for it to meet the metric. So, and it's the same thing like psychiatry. I can't imagine, like you sitting there, you have an hour visit talking to somebody, and how do you summarize that properly in a way that you're billing ethically, but you also have a note that you can go back to and read again and understand what the next visit with the patient is supposed to mean. And so I also love the fact that as you train the AI and it figures out who you are, it should make the quality of your notes better too, because you're not editing it as you do it. It's real time.
Right. You can have a high quality visit. You don't have to do it in between. And I think we all know that sometimes, you have a note that you didn't finish today and then you need tomorrow, but you get too busy. And then, how can anybody, even the best memory in the world person, remember after 50 patients what exactly happened, and then someone needs a note and don't have access to it. So I do think that this would already and definitely in the future would only increase the quality of the notes. There's nothing, again, I think there's nothing about the raw documentation that definitely with the review of the clinician this wouldn't just make better, because we all know there's no time clinicians spend as little time as they can on that to just keep themselves sane. You can't spend hours and hours every day. Yes, it does.
But for the people that are not in healthcare, that are patient-based listening, it's a really important point. It's happened to us and everyone else in healthcare so many times where we go in to see a patient. The worst part is when you're in a different you're not their primary care. You don't have an ongoing relationship. It's new. So if we're in the urgent care, or say you're a specialist seeing them for the first time, and there are notes in the chart that are not completed by the other specialist, primary care, whoever saw them before. They're open, they're incomplete. Yeah, someone did their labs and sent in some prescriptions, but the physical, the visit, all of it is incomplete. The chart's open. It is so
frustrating. Another patient has to repeat everything because...
Yes. And on top of that, you don't even know what the specialist or whoever saw them was thinking and what line to go down. And so incomplete chart notes by clinicians is a big problem in the care of patients. And this is another, sounds like a tool that it's going to help solve that, because the note's done right away and can be popped in, and then they can close out the chart. And then when I go to see them ever again in my career lifetime, it's done. And that is a big roadblock in delivering good healthcare in complete notes, and it happens all the time. Yeah.
Right, and I think for us it's interesting. Our reason for doing it is 100% focusing really on the clinicians and what they need. But it's nice to see those second order effects of, hey, now that we give the clinician patient instructions written, it's really written very, very nicely and it's very easy to understand. They send to the patient. The patients. One of my favorite feedbacks is our customers, clinicians, tell us that their patients telling them that, oh, the experience is so much better. I understand what I need to do. So definitely, and that's what I love about it. If you improve, because the doctor is the heart of the healthcare system. If you improve anything around their experience, you're improving everything around it. So we're definitely seeing those second, third order effects of patients getting better experience, better treatment. The notes are written and ready right away. So yeah, 100% we focus on the clinicians and everything kind of follows nicely from that.
Well, no, and that's exactly right. I mean, it's like Costco. Why is it always, even though Costco's busy and just like chaos, you always get good service from a Costco employee because they hire good people and they treat them well. It's real simple.
Right.
You hire good people and you treat them well. Healthcare is billing first. It is a billing industry. That's what it is. It just happens to use medicine as its source of billing. And Epic started with mainframe computers with Judy Faulkner fixing billing programs in the 1970s. And it grew out of that. And as soon as you play with it for 10 minutes, you realize this is a billing program that they added notes to. I mean, it's really what it is. And they're all like that. I mean, we pick on Epic because it's the biggest. It's also probably the easiest to use. I mean, people pay for it because it actually works. But it really is amazing how in 2024, you can ask your phone who won the college national championship game and it talks right back to you. But a doctor is pecking around and doing 50 clicks per visit. Like it just is so amazing to me how backward healthcare is in technology.
Mm-hmm. Yes. When I
from tech, you must have must have exploded when you saw this stuff.
You're going to dark places here. No, when I started researching, I didn't understand the depth of healthcare. So I actually spent a few months before understanding the direction, just researching. And yeah, very clearly you see that the fee-for-service model, which what you say, it's all about kind of billing, just happens to be through healthcare and medicine. And just the incentive structure. There's in some sense, there's no surprise that things are the way they are because the incentives drive us to behave this way. But the result is, as you said, if going back to Costco, you have the service provider, but each of us, if I have to go to the doctor, would I prefer to go to a burnout doctor who's literally depressed, sadly, or a doctor who's free and feels good and wants to do what they love doing? So I think that the effect of all of these cumbersome tests means that the service provider, the most important, the person, the clinician, is, can't do what they want to do in the way they love doing that. I like the Costco analogy. I never realized that's how they do it, but it is a good analogy.
And that's the truth. I mean, yes, if we on this end are so frustrated with I've been there so many times that I, almost feel like I have to say a public apology to all my previous patients, but you get so fed up with the system and having to deal with that, it takes you away from the real reason you're even in the room, which is to help people and to address their problems. And so by releasing that burden and us enjoying our jobs again and being able to connect with people and actually look at them eye to eye and engage and forget about all the clunkiness of the technology for those moments, it's huge. So I'm curious as to the technical part, because most of us in healthcare have used Dragon medical dictation. So I'm assuming you probably know what that is by now, which is really, it's like a microphone software program that connects to most things. Like you could plug it into Epic or any healthcare system, and then you would usually train it. We used to laugh because we used to say we had to train our Dragon literally you would read paragraphs of different medical scripts so that it understood your voice, your cadence, words that you pronounced to familiarize it. And as the more you use it, it kind of was learning that way. Is this similar? Because that had a lot of roadblocks too. Words that would never understand or enunciations. So how's this different than the previous Dragon software that we've been using?
I would say that the biggest difference is, so what happened in the last year in the world, I think, is potentially the biggest dramatic change that humanity would ever experience. I really believe that's likely. So I think anybody who tried to solve this problem more than a year ago, I don't blame them in any way. I think it was too hard. Mm-hmm. And now you can really do it magically. So there's zero training, as I mentioned. The big difference between what you described and what Freed does is that it just works out of the box. You don't need to train it. You don't need to tell it anything. You just need to know how to click the start and stop button. Maybe that will go away at some point as well. And it produces something good, right away the first time you use it. It does improve over time, but not in the sense that it's wrong and then it becomes right, just in the sense that to learn your personal style, we need time for that. But it transcribes almost perfectly. It produces notes that have, no hallucinations, really captures the main things. And again, over time, I really think this would get to, as the technology progresses, as we improve how we do it, just produces perfect notes off the bat. So again, it's quite a dramatic shift of just what's possible.
And is this basically all because of what's happened with computer and tech and artificial intelligence? Like the learning has exponentially changed with.
Yeah, the biggest change
made it that much better.
The biggest change is what we call ChatGPT, or more broadly, large language models, which there was a kind of step function in their ability to really understand text and work with text and really understand in some kind of deep and fundamental level, and that opened up so many possibilities, not just in healthcare, definitely in healthcare, but in every other field. And I think that's why we're seeing now, really a rush to kind of create better new products in every field. So it's quite exciting. I do think that the next 10 years the world is going to transform faster than it ever has. I really believe in that. And hopefully in healthcare it will be a change for the good in a very, very fundamental way, at least when it comes to burnout, which is our goal to help with.
No, I think I could not possibly agree with you more. People are going to be scared of AI in healthcare, especially providers, because they don't want to lose their job. And they're going to think that, the algorithm is going to take over. Well, I don't think it will if you actually are a real doctor and understand that so much of medicine is the art of medicine. It's how you connect with people. It's how you reassure them. It's how you guide them through, the cost-benefit analysis of what they need to do, the risk-benefit analysis. And so technology needs to be there to unburden that from us and make us less of an algorithm, not more. But the algorithmic part can be done by AI way better than humans. So what drugs interact with each other? What drugs work best in this community X or community Y for, bug X or bug Y. Those things we should let the AI do, because that's just algorithmic thinking that it can do way quicker and way better than any human. I mean, they've had machine learning that can read X-rays, I understand, 20 or 30% more accurately and 100 million times faster than a human. But we still have radiologists because no one's really ready to pull the pin on that one yet. So I think in the next, for sure, 10 years, for sure 5 years, I don't think you'll have almost any interface with the computer in healthcare anymore. Healthcare will be the last place to change it, because they're very reticent and they're scared of privacy and hurting people and all this. But I think it's coming, and we should welcome stuff like this, because this is where AI can work in healthcare better than. It's so potentially life changing. Mm-hmm. So, what are you hearing from your end users?
Just a comment, and I definitely want to answer that. I think two angles to look at what you said. One is choice. I think the way we have now this snowball of clinicians quitting, there's a lack of clinicians. Gabby, my wife, now is looking for a job, I think I mentioned, and every single place just like, come, it's not even an interview because everybody needs more clinicians, so we have no choice. And two, I think it's to the extent of immoral to burn out these people and just kind of use them to the, in lack of a better word. So yeah, I think it's happening whether we like it or not, to be honest. And I think AI is a scary word, but it's just technology, and it's technology that exists for a very long time. We use it everywhere. There was just a step function with what it can do, but it is a tool that we can use for the very good and actually very bad things. We're trying to use it for good things here. Yeah, to answer your question, you asked my favorite question, what we hear from clinicians. This is truly my favorite part, because what we're hearing is, it's truly much beyond you're saving me an hour or two a day, which we definitely do, and we hear it a lot, but you can see that the problem is so emotional that every day, like just a few days ago, we had someone just writing to us, but said, I've been waiting for something like this for 20 years. I can't believe it's finally arrived. Like messages like that. I had a doctor, one of our first users, who called me on the phone, and she's yelling. She said, I can't believe it. I decided to shut down my private practice, and I changed my mind when I found Freed, because now I can actually practice. Like literally changed her mind about closing the practice. And every day, it's so funny. I have lots of clinicians reaching out and asking me if they can invest in Freed. I think they really feel like Freed is truly for them, and I think they just love the company, and truly we love them. It's really, I don't want to be too soft, but it's really a love-based relationship here. And yeah, every day we hear this kind of feedback. On top of that, we hear piles of feedback on how we can improve, what we can do better. We're not perfect, and we want together, but it will take time, and that feedback is the only way to do that. So it's this combination of really supporting us, believing in us, and pushing us to be better, which again for me is the best type of relationship we can have with clinicians. But bottom line, for me, it's super satisfying, and I do feel like even if we fails tomorrow, I think we made a dent. We already had with 2 million encounters in our first year of operation, so I think that's a lot of burdensome work that we relieved. We want to go much further from here, but it's already been a very satisfying little journey for me.
Wow, that's
amazing.
That's impressive in a year. That is really.
Yeah. So when did Freed launch, and 2 million encounters you say this year?
Yeah, so Freed, kind of the timeline very quickly. So January 5th of last year, 2023, I wrote this. I think that was the birth of Freed. I wrote this building for doctors. It was, let's focus on doctors, forget about everything else, just let's see what they need. That very quickly led to a demo of let's focus on charting. We built this kind of patchy demo, and the responses, one of our friends, where I showed just the proof of concept first, her response, that's when I knew it's going to work, because her response was, what just happened? We did like a simulation, and she saw the output, and she was she was saying, what just happened here? It was very powerful. So we started building it. We launched a beta on March. On March, we had the first real encounter happening with a real clinician in the field. It took us time because, of course, we had to make sure we're HIPAA compliant and all the important stuff there. And then it started picking up. Day after day, more and more clinicians were sharing it with their friends. And in May 17th, I remember I was in Israel at the time, we launched it officially and started charging. And the same day, people started putting their credit cards. I was amazed. My previous startup, I knew how hard it is to charge people, money for anything. And people just started signing up like crazy. So that was May 17th. And from there, it's just been growing and growing. Today, we were serving, just this week, we reached 4,000 paying clinicians using the product. And they're using it pretty much all day long. It's like the usage is quite intense. So we do 30,000 encounter nodes per day now, and it's quickly growing. And yeah, now, so year 2 just started, and I hope it will be nearly as good as the first one. But that's been the trajectory here.
Wow.
And so I have to say one more thing. Really, the reason we're successful is because it's really the love of clinicians. They love the product. They share it with others. This allows us to not spend huge amounts on marketing and really focus on building something better for them. And they helped us with the feedback and spreading the word. So yeah, truly, generally we're all about clinicians, and I feel like they are part of, starting with Gabby, my wife, was a real part of it, but every single one who's using Freed is helping us along the way. So yeah, it's a love-based relationship for sure.
So what are the hurdles, or what's the ease of entry into getting into this? So for instance, small town clinic where we were previously, if they wanted to switch over to this, is it a subscription based monthly? Do you buy the software from you? Is it least, like, how does it work?
Yeah, so it's very simple. You sign up online, you don't need to talk to us or anything. You have a free trial. You can do kind of mock sessions to see. Signing up BAA is a part of the sign-up process for compliance. So about that. And then if you like it, the subscription is $99 a month, and you get unlimited use. You can do as many notes as you want. If it's a bigger practice, we can also support a group account, which the seats are priced pretty similarly. And that's pretty much it. You want to cancel, you can cancel the same day. We don't try to lock you in any way. It doesn't conflict with any other software that you have, so you can, you're not switching your EHR or anything like that. And our approach is really simplicity. There's enough complicated stuff in healthcare. We don't want to add to that. And yeah, $99 a month, and hopefully your charting becomes much less burdensome.
Wow.
So it's all web-based, correct?
It's all web-based. We do have apps that we haven't kind of officially, a lot of users use them, but yeah, it's on the web or on your mobile, works on any device, and again, very, very seamless, and no training or anything involved in the process.
Spectacular. Wow. I love the sound of that. Like, even with apps, like, you could have your phone on in your pocket, walk in, hit the button, do the video.
Yeah, you're not there waiting, and then you don't have to worry. Even if you didn't do the charting yet, you're not worried because the note is there waiting for you and ready to be moved into the EHR.
Clear your mind, forget about it because it's there, and get on to the next patient.
Okay, so how do our physician listeners sign up for this, for their free trial?
Run. Don't walk.
Yes, we even have a promotion that I get to. So as you mentioned, the website is Freed, Freed.ai. You can see the website, everything is transparent. You can sign up right away for a trial. And if you like it, then you subscribe, and we have, as we mentioned now, a promotion code that will give you $50 off the first month. If you like to try it, that's BS Free, so BSFREE. And yeah, just at least give it a try. That's all I'm asking. If you don't like it, all I'm asking is give us feedback so we can make it relevant for you as well. But I hope most would enjoy it and get benefit from trying it out.
BS Free for 50% off the first month. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's.
Okay, I feel like shouting out some names on there. So
well, it's fascinating because
thought,
if you can really change the world if you can save private practice.
Now, what about
because there's a lot of these smaller practices that don't.
Yeah.
I mean, people.
So what about contract physicians who are doing locums, or say working in a system such as urgent care, and they're employed? So Tim, for instance, he goes in, he wants to use Freed to do his note and then pop it into the system. Is that an issue, or is that basically what it's made for?
So we do work with bigger systems. We didn't talk much about HIPAA compliance and security, but we're doing all of this very diligently. So we do work with those larger systems. I would say that's naturally harder. So typically, if you work for a larger system, you can either connect us or speak with your IT or whoever is responsible to make sure there's an organizational BAA. So it's all nicely done. We don't want to put anybody in any exposure whatsoever. But that's possible. We do it often now on a daily basis, kind of bringing on big organizations. So that's inherently, it's not complicated. If there's some organizations that like to make it a little complicated, we would navigate that.
Right.
But it's
I just thought of that at the last moment because a lot of clinicians are doing locums, or as Tim is working for another system, but would like to be able to use that. So
what we see is that all organizations understand that clinician well-being and burnout is so important that they are usually pretty open to, hey, let us see what this thing is, see that it's legit, and yeah, go on with it. They even want to sponsor it later on as well, which we like. Ideally, we don't want the clinicians to pay for it. Yeah, so it's possible. And again, I think that those who wouldn't do that wouldn't have any clinicians left because they would go to places where clinicians can have a better. I think that's right. If you don't take care of your clinicians, then and doctors, then why would they work for you when there's demand everywhere else?
No, I love it. I wish more people thought of us that way, but it's true. I mean, if you don't take care of your employees, they don't want to be there for you. And sadly, the dropout rate, the burnout rate is huge. That's a huge problem. And so I'm excited that something like this that you've created is really addressing primarily, right? Your heart and your hope was really to help burnout with clinicians and to make it work a better, like a place where we want to be, and to just actually be there for patients. So thank you for addressing that problem. It just reminds me of we did another interview with Nick Chinsky from Cure MD. He is not in healthcare, but he saw how horrible our scrubs, our apparel is in healthcare, and he worked in the clothing industry. And he's like, "This is terrible. You're a professional. You should have better clothes and scrubs." And it tackled that problem. And I'm like, it's so refreshing to see that actually people outside of healthcare.
Healthcare's problems are not going to be solved with people that are in healthcare.
No, sadly, no.
Because otherwise they would have solved them already.
Yes, true.
It's going to come from divergent thinking from the outside. And that's just the way it is. And that's great. And so we're
not to give myself too much credit, but I do think that the combination of me coming from the outside, but being close enough, with Gabby as a part of it, I think it's kind of for me, it's the perfect combination of having the knowledge and years and understand, but also having the outside, not the tech experience, but also the being open-minded enough to, hey, maybe something here can be better. So time will tell, but so far, I think it's going in the right direction.
No, you're absolutely right. There's a massive problem right in your own lap, your own household, that you're like, this is a big issue in the world, not just my house, to solve. So thank you for that. This is exciting.
Yeah, it's like, the wife has a problem, just makes a software company.
Huh. What you doing this weekend, Tim?
Yeah.
I love it. Well, best wishes to Gabby on wrapping up her training. And man, after we've done a long career, it was much different then, but for the most part, we loved our relationships and experiences and all how we got to be a part of people's lives. So best wishes to her, as well as you and the company. And I think that this sounds like such a positive thing. It almost makes me want to go back into practice again, but I still have to think about it.
We'll check offline, but no, thank you for what you're doing, and of course for having me. As I said, that the help we're getting in just spreading the word really it allows us to do what we're doing. So can't thank you enough, and for having me and the podcast you're making and supporting clinicians. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
We did too.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, as our conversation with Erez Druk comes to a close, we're inspired by the transformative impact of Freed.ai in the medical field. This isn't just about AI. It's about a vision that's turning the tide in how clinicians approach their work.
Yeah, man. Big thank you to Erez for his, candidness and sharing and giving us a behind-the-scenes look at the journey, the beginning of Freed.ai. And it's because, man, it's not every day we get to see technology actually trying to care and rekindling doctors' enthusiasm for their practice. What a novel idea. And if you're intrigued as we are, head over to their website, Freed.ai. It's FREED.ai to learn more. And don't miss out on the chance to connect with Erez on LinkedIn as well, and Twitter, or it's not called X these days, where he continues to share valuable insights on AI's evolving role in healthcare.
And if you are a physician that wants to use it, remember, use BS free as your coupon code
for 50% off your first month. Sounds like a no-brainer to me. And we hope our listeners are hungry for more knowledge like this, and keep joining us. We've got lots of cool stories, insights, and behind the scenes things in medicine like this, more groundbreaking tech. And remember, staying informed is power.
So until our next episode, keep questioning, keep learning, and always stay BS free.
Oh, you can't do it, can you? Over and out.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
But we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible. We can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.